Oh, what's up, everybody? Once again, it's Brandman Sean on a Saturday morning, and this video is brought to you by BrandmanNetwork.com because I signed myself. Now, I got to get to the point with this guy. This today, I got to cover the story of the rapper who stole $4.1 million allegedly from his company, using the company's credit card to fund his rap career. He stole $4 million to fund his rap career. So, one, got to touch on that a little bit because there's some things around it that is sad, right? But then on top of that, I want to break down how artists can use why this story blew up, and you'll see what I'm talking about, to actually benefit themselves when it comes to virality and just really flexing and making the most out of social media. Number one, let me detail this story a little bit more. So when we're talking about funding his rap career, I mean, you can find billboards of Chad Focus online, of course, because he's sharing and bringing PR to a lot of this stuff himself. Like #1 hit on Billboard. Billboard the charts, right? It says Billboard top hit. Maybe he was talking about the fact that he was posting it on billboards, but he was referring to the charts like that, that sketchiness. #1 artist in the world. Just straight line, just line, all right. But paying for fake Spotify plays, all that good stuff, and of course, most people do not know who he is outside of this story in itself. So one, right, just that alone shows you that the marketing methods and just having a lot of money is not necessarily gonna blow you up. We already know that, but he did those things, and what else did he do? I mean, he even had a This Is 50 interview, right, on the channel. Y'all can go find that. I might link it in the description below or something like that. And then he was like breaking down all this music industry knowledge, and just like a good con man, he was actually speaking on some pretty decent knowledge. But besides that, the bigger part of this story for me is the fact you keep hearing this news spread. Oh, $4.1 million. How did he blow that? How did he not blow up off of that? First of all, I've made it clear that there's a lot of people who have spent that money, maybe even more, and not blown up before. But when we talk about this guy, the sad thing is you keep hearing this thing being spread, right? This story being spread. But when you actually read it, you find out he didn't have $4.1 million. Like, he had co-conspirators, right? He had people he was working with. Of course, whose accounts was he funneling through? I read the article and they said it was like at least maybe 4. I can't remember that correctly. Don't quote me on that. Accounts that he funneled it through, and then they kicked back like hundreds of thousands of dollars to him. So nevertheless, he had a lot of money, right? And money's not going to necessarily be the only thing needed to blow you up. That all that stuff is clear, but just that one snippet alone is the bigger thing that you can utilize for yourself, right? And also part of the most depressing fact. Because back in 2016, Columbia University and the French National Institute came together and did a study. Well, some of their researchers came together and did a study. And what they found was 59% of articles shared on social media does not get clicked, right? And what that means is people are sharing an article, right? They see an article, they see the headline, they share it without even clicking it, without even reading it. So information is spreading. So a lot of people are spreading this $4.1 million headline, right? Rapper steals $4 million to fund his career. They're sharing that headline without even reading the story. And then you combine that with another, semi-depressing fact based on a lot of these clickbait headlines, is the fact that when people read an article, right? If you come in through the headline, your mind is anchored towards the statement on the headline. So even if contextually it explains away every single thing to something you agree with, a lot of times people's opinions are still psychologically skewed by that initial headline they read, because that formed their opinion of the article or everything else that they read. So those are two small things that artists have to realize when it comes to how they break things down, how they promote things on social media, what you put out there, right? Because on Brandman Network and a lot of our artist sessions, a lot of artists have got to the part where we're working heavily on story, right? Narrative. And one thing that people have to keep in mind is this is what's going to happen, whether you want it to or not. People will spread your story, right? No matter what you think is true, or no matter if you want them to spread your story, people are going to pick parts and things to talk about you. It's up to you to control the narrative, and you have to be able to break this thing down into something concise that can be shared on social media. When you read all these articles on through memes. Memes have become full blogs. People are not reading like the actual story that refers to the blog. And even if they do read anything, a lot of times it's going to be the caption, right? Or with a comment on Instagram, whatever you want to call it, right? They'll read that, but they're not going to ever click through to get the full story. So that's the blog itself. Now I know this information. I see this meme. Oh, a rapper stole $4 million to fund his career. I see this. I share it with somebody else. I never go find anything else. And now I have that fact in my head. Now I know this, and I might know the guy's name. Same thing is going to relate to you. What part of your narrative is interesting enough to be shared? That's one thing. And how do I make that concise where I can put it in a meme format and get that thing shared? From a PR standpoint, there's different ways and tactics to go through that. But how do I make that happen for myself? And how do I do it without necessarily having to, scheme, scam, and con, right? Because this obviously blew the story up. But at the same time, for him, it's not necessarily a good thing because he's getting arrested, blah, 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 all that good stuff. So that's the thing that artists and people in general have to focus on, because this story is being spread and everybody's using the $4 million. Everybody's using the $4 million. And they're just as bad. Well, no, I ain't gonna say that they're just as bad as him. But they're just as bad as anybody else who's sharing stuff without clicking. You're sharing this entire story, never clicking through to actually get the real facts. And even if you know the real fact, it's still far more appealing to imply that he actually put $4 million in his career, right? It's a bigger number. It's just more interesting. So even if people know that he didn't put that in his career, they're still going to focus on the part that this is what was stolen from the company using the account, right? And even in a smaller nuance, you have to be so aware with these headlines to even understand that saying rapper is far more interesting than just saying Chad Focus stole $4 million. You know what I mean? Or to fund his rap career. Like that small piece of information there is far more entertaining than whatever a lot of these other people might have been doing, right? When they took the money. Maybe who knows what happened and what they did. But it's just a more interesting story at that. And then he had a little bit of visibility at that. It's the same thing that happens when you see these companies that have maybe a celebrity endorser or something like that. And people will be like, the celebrity's company did this. And the celebrity, they barely have anything to do with the company, or especially when it comes to the day-to-day, very little to do with the decisions, but it's a bigger name. It's more interesting. They know that that's going to get the clicks through. It's all the same stuff. You have to understand that this will be the reality, right? That one, people are going to share stuff without even clicking. So you need to not count on people to click through. You need to find the most interesting fact or piece of information you want people to take away, right? And put it in your headline, put it in your caption. And then number two, you have to understand that headline, that caption is going to form people's opinion of everything they take in after that. Like, all right, here's an example. There was an article, I can't even remember what the newspaper was, but it was an article that basically made a statement about the environment, right? The air pollution being the number one killer or something like that, or the cause of cancer or something like that. And when you read the article, you click through, what you'll find is smoking and things of that nature still has the greater impact on getting lung cancer, right? But air pollution has killed more people in these certain places. I believe it might have been over in China or somewhere in the Middle East, but it's killed more people just because more people are affected by it, right? But it doesn't have a greater impact. But the article, the headline led people to think that the air pollution that got so bad that it was a greater impact than even just smoking and other things alone. Point is, once people read it, even after they read the article, and it even stated in the article that smoking and all these other things were still ahead of air pollution and killing people, their minds were still bent towards that air pollution thing, right? Their results were still there. The damage had already been done. I'll use the word damage, but the mental note had already been taken, and people were acting accordingly. It's hard for people to unlearn those things or really just be astute when they're reading articles, taking in all this information online. So I know I'm rambling off a little bit, but I just want to make this stuff so clear that you can utilize this for yourself. I'm working on it with a lot of people right now on how they can utilize that for their narrative, and how they can utilize this kind of formatting for their narrative, and how that strategy will look. Trust me, it's the reality at the time, and you got to work with that. All right, your stuff can be appealing, and it could be a great story, it could be a great article, it could be a great video, but if the clicking, right, the headline isn't appealing, it kind of is what it is. You're not going to get the results. And sometimes you have to play that game, right? Sometimes I have to make my YouTube videos have certain titles that people are more interested in, or I have to talk about certain subjects that people are more interested in, just because I will have this thing that's substantive that I want to make sure people know. But at the end of the day, people won't click. As much as people say they will click, right? Or they want to just know this. Behavior shows, and that's what especially when it comes to marketing, what do people's behaviors say? Not all this. People say they want this, but their behaviors, the actual clicks, show that they do this, right? So, people complain about social media, but how much time do they spend on social media, right? People complain, like that's you say you love me, but why you treat me like this? You get what I'm saying? It's all the same. So once again, think about this, consider this. What does that look like for you? How does that apply to your strategy? And other than that, have a great weekend. Messed that up. Once again, this video is brought to you by BrandmanNetwork.com, because I signed myself. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. If you like it, might as well share it. And if you're not subscribed, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button.